All right, boys, this week we're going to get it right, okay? So, Ransom, give me that sweet, sweet cold open. Ransom? Ransom!
Yes, Ransom!
Yes!
The quest is complete. I am victorious. Screw you, Mordor. I'll overcome your trials and tribulations. No thanks to the spot blower himself. Beef, the legendary letdown. Episode start.
You're listening to the Pittsburgh Pile Driver.
What the hell is that?
Podcast.
Well, hi, everybody. Guess who's back? That's right. Loudmouth, stupid, dumb, rambling, dumb. Did I say that already? Well, it bears repeating. Me! Ransom is back. Oh, I'm sure you're all very disappointed, but life is full of disappointments. So, I don't know what to tell you. Suck it easy, fuckheads. We're going to go ahead and talk some wrestling tonight here on the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. Very happy Irish drinking day. And no, that's not offensive to Irish people. I can say that. It's my people. I'm allowed to say it. Again, suck it easy. What are you going to do? Take away my beer? I don't think so. But in any case, we're going to do wrestling talk because that's what we do on the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. The full crew is here in force tonight. Poot the Bard, La Bebe, Tiger Bomb Tom, Beef, the legendary legend himself, alongside with me, Dum Ransom. We're gonna do wrestles talk. Also, there has been drinking. So, Poot, live, my love.
Also, Ransom apparently is the rock eater from the Neverending Story. Anyway.
He's a Goron.
I am. Could I be a Goron?
I think you might be a Goron.
You're Darunia.
I don't know. He's big muscle man. That's Poot.
No.
If there was a Guardian that did nothing but pretty much just scream and hate everybody, that would be me.
Oh, you mean Abby?
Poot's the big strong guy. Yeah, shut up, you.
Anyway, wrestling. Boys.
Now listen, bad news bears. The bad guy himself, Scotimus Hall, has unfortunately departed this mortal coil. From what everything has been reported, he had a blood clot after some hip surgery that resulted in some heart attacks. And, yeah, I guess he was on life support for a while. His family took him off, and he passed gently. So that sucks. However, instead of doing the mornings, I feel like we should reminisce on some Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, and just kind of celebrate the life of what was a very legendary wrestler. Again, a number of a wrestler that has passed too soon, and also a wrestler who probably will go down in history as one of the greatest of all times, who was never WWE champion.
Also true. And for anybody that's listening to this, I know this is it's after the fact of it. It's probably by now about a good week, but there's really no timeline on death and anything like that. So if you have a problem with it,
to talk about a guy,
yeah,
you listeners.
What?
I have my finger up my nose right there.
Okay.
It's fine.
But yeah, if anybody has a problem with it, refer back to previous statements by our own Ransom. And
I don't think I think it'll be fine. Hey,
if anybody was to bitch.
in between the times where we record the podcast, it's not like
this is true. But
So I mean,
gross.
when you think about Scott Hall, I remember seeing stuff on like ESPN Classic of like him and like AWA and shit, where he was like this like big fucking dude in a sea of mid-sized guys. He was a standout dude, and
Huge.
he never really like when you looked at him in WWE and even WCW, he never really came off that way. But dude was a mountain of a man.
yeah,
More importantly, though, dude was an innovator. Like, look at some of the things that he was on the ground floor of. The ladder match. The NWO formation.
Yep.
Like,
The Click.
The click. Oh yeah.
He absolutely has a place in the pantheon of some of the of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Lord.
And
Especially on the front of character work.
oh my God.
yeah.
He was the first. Him and Goldust, I think, were the first like real characters of the '90s that weren't like goofy gimmicks, but like honest to God, like characters. And yeah, I mean they're both really over the top, but realistically, like that's what the '90s was, really over the top. So. And it worked, man. Like the vignettes with him like on the streets of Miami, like acting fucking Scarfacey was perfect for his time and place, man. Dude, Razor Ramon was the fucking coolest. I don't care what anybody has to say. He was the fucking coolest.
Let's not beleaguer the point too that the Razor Ramon character was such a unique and popular character that when Scott Hall left WWF and went to WCW, they didn't want to lose the Razor Ramon character, so they tried to have a different wrestler portray that Razor Ramon character.
Rick
That's
Bogner.
how popular Razor Ramon as the character wrestler was. I'm sure some of that was, oh, well, we'll show you, WCW. But I feel like a big part of that credit goes to Scott Hall for getting that character over and just living the gimmick out there in the ring and backstage. And like Beef said, in all the vignettes, they tried to replicate the character because it was such a unique and innovative. Yes, it was an icon.
He was the first guy that I remember seeing, and the first time that I really saw Razor that I can remember, trying to think back to whenever I started watching wrestling and going to my local video store and picking up videotapes, like going, oh man, I want to watch WrestleMania 7. I want to watch WrestleMania, you know what I mean? Like watching all those old ones. I remember getting WrestleMania 10 and not understanding the context of all the, the shows before him where they built with Shawn and Razor in that ladder match. But hearing that music, I heard that music and I remember going, okay. And then he comes out and you just see him and his attitude, the way he carried himself, that like smirk, and not even a shit-eating grin. It was just like, you looked at him and you went, I want to be that guy. I want to hang out with that guy. That's a cool fucking guy. You know what I mean? The whole oozing machismo thing. And like Beef said, and I know we've reiterated it, Beef said it, Ransom said it, and I'm sure Tom's going to reiterate it as well, which he should, is him being able to take a gimmick like that is like Vince McMahon allegedly was like, he wanted to just make Scarface. That's what he wanted. He wanted to just make Scarface. And Razor, Scott Hall, took that character, and yeah, you can look at it and go, oh, okay, it's kind of a play on that whole vibe. But when I look at Razor Ramon, I don't go Scarface. I go, that's Razor Ramon.
Yeah, I think, I mean, one could argue, like, the character of Razor Ramon was kind of really, like, for at that time in the 90s, like, is the closest thing that you could compare to being like a modern day tweener. You know what I mean? Like he was a heel, but like he was so charismatic that you just couldn't help but you couldn't help but cheer for him eventually. Kind of like an Adam Cole. You know what I mean? he was always one of my favorites to watch. You know, you know, he definitely helped out so many people in the business. I mean, look at what he did for Sean Waltman, 1-2-3 Kid. You know,
speaking of, real quick, you know what I found out. He had a similar thing happen over in New Japan Pro Wrestling, back like the turn of the decade or a little before, where he put over a young boy. Basically, he
Really?
a young lion got over on him because he was just wiping the floor with him. He took the mic and he was posturing whatever, and then the young boy rolled him up 1-2-3. That young boy went on to become the ace of the universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi.
No way.
Get the fuck out of here.
Fact.
That's fucking cool. And
Fact.
You know, like hearing things like that about Razor. First of all, his mind for the business was always really, really good. Not even just in the confines of his own, but hearing about that, how he put over Tanahashi, like in his early career to kind of kickstart him into that. But then I don't know if you guys know this. I didn't know this, and this is probably way more common knowledge. He's the one who looked at Sting and said, you should do the face paint like the Crow. And
I thought I saw something about that, but I didn't get a chance to read that story.
Yeah, he apparently was telling Sting, he's like, look how cool this is. It could be a cool dark turn to the character and everything. And Sting in the conversation said, have you ever seen the Crow? And Scott goes, nah, but it's cool. Like, and that's the thing is like, but that's the thing is that like, he didn't know the context. He just looked at that and went, that's money.
Yeah, man, he got it. You know, and I mean, it's no surprise that guys the caliber of Nash and Hall, Triple H and Shawn Michaels all gravitated towards one another because they are four guys who absolutely understand the business more than many have before them and will after them.
Yeah.
They all had very, very good heads on their shoulders when it came to wrestling. And yeah, Scott absolutely could see talent a mile away.
Well, and look at what Hall and Nash did, you know, not only just with the NWO, but I know Nash has referenced it in you know, in promos whenever he was feuding with Punk, whenever he came back to WWE and stuff. And he said, you know, you should be saying thank you, Mr. Nash, for getting, you know, for being able to get guaranteed money like that whole guaranteed money and the contracts and shit. Like that all started with Hall and Nash departing to WCW because back in the day, like you didn't have guaranteed money. You know, you had handshake deals. You got paid per time that you showed up and stuff like that, you know, and if you weren't on the card, you weren't getting paid. Not like how it is nowadays, you know, where WWE will, you know, literally be paying wrestlers to sit at home and ride out their contracts and stuff like that, you know. So really, I mean, honestly, like that's something else that he was involved in is a big game changer for the landscape of pro wrestling as it is now.
Yeah, man.
And like, I don't know about you guys, but back in the day, now we see stuff like the Snapdragon suplexes. We see a lot of stuff like that where people land high on their shoulders, on their neck. There's so many like huge impact moves. Like wrestling has evolved, obviously. The first time I saw the Razor's Edge, I went, ooh. Like,
you know how many times I definitely like tried to do that to poor Danny Madison. Good Lord.
That stupid Razor's Edge had to have been. I'm certain that was my first ever jaw drop moment in wrestling. Because for the time, that was the coolest thing I think I ever saw in the ring. That Razor's Edge was something special. You've seen, like, people did power bombs, Nash, Sid, people did power bombs, this, that, and the other thing. But the Razor's Edge was solely unique. There was not at the time another move like it. So, not to mention the innovations he did with contracts, stables, changing the face of the business with the NWO. The finisher that he had, holy moly. I mean, it was pure gold.
And you know, you can see and if you look back in Razor's early career, and I'm sure Beef can probably expound on this a little bit more, being the historian that he is. But if you look at Scott back in the 80s, he was enormous. He was huge. I mean, he was always a really cut dude. And like when you look at him in WWF back in the day and then WCW, he was always cut but he was really lean. Like he had a unique look, because it wasn't like Sid, for example, or Kevin Nash, where they're tall, but they're proportionate. Scott was always really gangly in those times. Like he had that gangly look, but he could move. You know what I mean? He could go with a guy like Shawn Michaels, like Sean Waltman, the 1-2-3 Kid. He could do that. But if you look at him back in the day, he was jacked beyond belief. Like it was ridiculous. And then seeing him develop into Razor, you see Razor and then you see Scott Hall. It's night and day.
Well, was it NWA or AWA that he was in, or was it both?
I think it was AWA. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I remember seeing old pictures of him from there with like his
face.
Yeah. Oh my God! Like he was built like a brick shithouse. Like he was just like his chest and his shoulders. Like he was so broad and just imposing. And again, like you said, Poot, he wasn't super tall like a Nash or a Sid, but my God, he was a big dude. Like he's not somebody I would have wanted to got into a bar fight with, because
allegedly he did a lot of that too.
I don't doubt it. Doubt it.
And that guy rocked that mustache like no one's business.
He sure fucking did, man.
Good Lord. Those were the days before the internet. So, when the internet became a thing, and wrestling people started getting on the internet and doing internet whatevers, that's where I first saw the old school picture of Scott Hall looking like a brick shit house with that huge manly mustache. And I remember looking at that going, there's no fucking way that's Scott Hall. No, like somebody's wrong. Whoever posted this is wrong. It didn't look anything like him. Not compared to the Razor Ramon, that we saw in WWF, and the Scott Hall we saw in WCW. But holy
cow.
Like
Poot said, night and day, and
he worked differently
that
too.
To a dude. That speaks to a dude who, because I think his finish in AWA was a choke slam, or choke slam Sambo suplex looking thing that he did. That speaks to the caliber of the guy, who really was a chameleon. Like he could fit into any slot, put him in, and he did it well. He could go with just about anybody. Big men, little guys, obviously guys like Michaels, clearly. But because he knew that he didn't have to work hard, he had to work smart. And Razor could work the audience like none other.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say that he basically revolutionized and revitalized the Intercontinental title. Like, everybody's like, "Oh man, what a historic lineage!" Blah blah blah. Like through the '80s, it was like Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat, Rick Rude, Warrior at some point. Question mark. Greg the Hammer Valentine was in there. Brutus was in there, I think.
Honky Tonk Man.
There was Honky Tonk. Like there was a lot of ups and downs. But that dude came in and said, "You know what? The Intercontinental title is fucking big time." And he became one of the, if not the greatest. He's probably on par with Chris Jericho as the greatest Intercontinental champion of all time.
I would say
for sure.
And seeing him, like the intrigue, like I know I keep coming back to that WrestleMania 10 moment, but like the fact that they kind of brought, now of course ladder matches have been done. Like I know in Stampede Wrestling they did ladder matches, and ladder matches of course were done, but that match to me was kind of the nexus point, the flashpoint moment of ladder matches, becoming a normal thing. And the biggest spot on that was Shawn Michaels standing halfway up the ladder and splashing on Scott Hall. That was the biggest moment of that match. Like, and at the time, it was this spectacle, this amazing thing. My God, these guys are putting their bodies on the line. And, you know, and the fact they were working with one ladder, that was a ladder they found in the fucking arena. Like, that wasn't that beef. Didn't you tell me that, like, that ladder was the only ladder in the arena?
So they had two, I think, and like one of them, like because you saw the one straight up like get twisted and bended.
Yep.
Like that other, the second ladder they had was it. Like that was it. If they fucked up that second ladder, no one was winning the fucking match. They had to come up with a new plan.
And like, but that's kind of the thing, is that shows how those guys, they fuck up that one ladder. And then they're like, okay, we got to kind of work around this, because if we fuck this one up, like, they both had the wherewithal of that. You know what I mean? And yeah, they were buddies. They knew how to work with each other, and they had a plan. But still, like, if it was just Michaels and it was anybody else, I feel like a majority of anyone else who would have been working with Michaels at that point might have panicked.
Yeah. would have went belly up. Potentially. But yeah, and I mean, like, I think so. I think my favorite Jarrett-ism not Jarrett, fucking Hall-ism in WWF was the feud with Jarrett. Like that, Jeff Jarrett and Scott Hall was such a money feud, and it did a lot to put Double J on the map as a real fucking contender too. Which again is Scott Hall going, you know what? This guy has a good brain. This guy's got a good work rate. Let's get this guy over. They both of them worked so well together, and all of their matches together were just amazing.
I always anytime I think back with, you know, a good feud with Razor Ramon, obviously like Goldust was the one that always sticks out in my mind. I remember from both sides, you know, I mean, not to get away from Scott Hall, you know, and celebrating him, but obviously, like, you know, it takes two to tango, and Goldust was an amazing character back then too. For at that time, it was so unique, and you know, is just it was really that always sticks out in my mind. I think one of the other things, and now this is going to kind of take a little bit of a pivot. I always enjoyed the wrestling video games back in the day. I remember the WrestleMania, the arcade game. I remember Razor was always my favorite to use. Yep. He'd go through, he'd like sweep you up and like multiple Alabama slam you like a rag doll, and he'd just be like, "Nobody messes with the bad guy." I fucking love that move. Oh my God.
Dude, we had that game down at our local YMCA.
Yep.
And before swim team, I would always beg my dad to give me $1 worth of quarters so that I could play it.
And Ransom, I know Ransom will appreciate this, because the second favorite thing to do in that game was little demons, big demons, soar.
That was the, you know, when I think of WWE video games, they had that, which was probably one of the greatest wrestling video games of all time. Not based on the realism, because if you have ever played that, you know that there is no realism based in that game whatsoever.
Oh, absolutely not.
But the amount of fun that we had playing that was off the charts.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. It was one of the most fun video games I think I can ever remember playing. And I laughed. That video game gave me some of the most breathless laughing that I've ever experienced in my life.
Yep.
Because Tom and I would play that video game and we would laugh our asses off. It was so fun and it was so funny. It was just the best. And, you know, that's just another one of those things that Scott Hall was a part of. And if you look back on this guy's career, and I don't want to get into negatives or bashing here, but at the same token, looking at all of the trailblazing that he did, it really is an injustice that he was never WWE champion.
Oh yeah.
Because he was, in a lot of ways, the first of a kind. You look at the ladder match that they were in, what he did for the Intercontinental title, how he elevated people. Like, he gave the 1-2-3 Kid a clean win on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, clean.
No chicanery. Nothing.
Nope. Like, he put him over clean. No fuss. No muss. Nothing. He and all of the things that he would go on to do in his career. And good on him for being a 2-time Hall of Famer. Regardless of how anybody feels about the WWE Hall of Fame, it did give him that recognition that I felt he very well deserved. Because for all of the talent that he had, and again, I'm sorry if this is going to go to a, place, but the guy had been through a lot. And I think he was done wrong a little bit by each of the wrestling companies. WWF, he never held the big belt. He was never the champion. If you can remember back in WCW, when he had his alcohol problem, they turned that into an on-screen gimmick that when you look back at it now,
it's so cringy.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to know that this wasn't just a storyline. This was this guy's life. He was struggling with alcohol, and WCW saw an opportunity to turn that into a storyline, which it had no business in the world being. Like, this was a real life struggle for this dude. And they turned it into an on-screen story, which was atrocious.
And he rolled with it, man. He
did. He did. And do you remember, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but do you remember hearing about this story when he came back to WWE after they acquired WCW, and the NWO was feuding with Steve Austin.
Right.
So Scott Hall was taking this medication.
Oh, yeah.
Which would make him violently ill if he had any sort of alcohol. Like, it was a way that he was helping to detoxify himself.
Right.
And get away from the alcohol. He was on this medication that would make him violently ill. In the one storyline, Steve Austin had him tied up in a quote unquote freezer. And Steve Austin was legit dumping beer on him. And again, this isn't a knock on Austin. Austin didn't know. He didn't know that Hall was on this medication at the time. So Steve Austin was dumping beer on Hall, and Scott Hall was getting sick as his mouth was duct taped because of this medication he was taking. So the man lived a hard life and had a lot of demons and a lot of struggles. But at the end, he was really able to overcome them. And a lot of credit goes out to Diamond Dallas Page.
Absolutely.
Because DDP took him in and helped him with rehab, helped him get his body in the right place, helped him get strong. The DDP yoga, he was his accountability system. And, I think, again, not to take away from Scott Hall, but I think DDP, this guy's a saint. Scott Hall's not the only person he's done this for. He's done this for other people as well.
Yep.
And, just all the people that were close to Scott, I feel, I really feel for them, because it seemed like he had a lot of very close, very good friends. And, his loss is not going to come easy to them.
Yeah, as a guy who's sitting talking to 4 of his best friends, or 3 of his best friends, like I can't imagine what Nash and Waltman and HBK are going through. It's got to be tough, because if you're a larger than life guy on screen, you got to be a larger than life guy off screen too. So positive is he made it to retirement age. He was what, 62, 63.
Yep.
Like a lot of wrestlers don't make it that long. So good for Scott for making it long. I always just think to myself, what DDP always kind of he was like the one that kind of got away from DDP. DDP kind of always felt like he left too early, and he wanted him to come back and stay with them a little bit longer. I always kind of wondered what would have come if he would have stayed under DDP's wing. And I mean that's one of those things where at the end of the day, some of us can't outrun our demons, and no one gets out alive. At the end of the day, this is the race that none of us are going to win. But you always start to think back and say, what if, and it's a bummer, especially when you think back to his active career. What if he had never gone to WCW? Like, yes, we would have never had the NWO, but would he have been a WWE champion? Maybe, probably, honestly.
I think you still would have had the NWO, but that original core 3 guys, you would not. I think you would have had Nash out there, and not trying to cut down Kevin Nash or anything, but he was never as good of a talker as Scott was. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is the seed of it. Again, the NWO, I think it still would have happened. It just would have had different context in the beginning. But how much of an outlaw did he feel like when he jumped in the ring with his Canadian tuxedo on, and he just stood there, and it felt Wild West. It felt taboo. It felt weird. And he's standing there, toothpick in mouth, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Like, if anyone else would have delivered that line, they would have delivered it in the kind of cliche, you know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. You know what I mean? That angry, pushing, style of promo that was at the time. But Scott, being Scott, he could come out there, greased up hair, the little curl, and just, he's like, yeah. Aren't you fucking interested? Yeah. Like, just so cool all the time. Had he not gone to WCW, I feel like he might have had a run as a champion, but I would have been worried that they would have used him as kind of a transitional champion. I feel like and then after his run, I feel like he would have just been a upper mid card foil. I do. Kind
of a gatekeeper.
And there's nothing wrong with that position. Hell, that's a good position to be in. I honestly, I don't know what his substance abuse problems would have been like had he not left WWE, because he left, obviously before the Attitude Era, but also he left right before things got a little more serious. Like, wrestlers kind of, there was, the infamous plane ride from hell, which I don't really feel like talking about. But it was kind of at the end of that era of wrestlers going out and partying every single night and then going and working a match. I feel like had he been there and been around the people that he was around and been in the environment, maybe he wouldn't have gotten so far into booze.
Hi, excuse me. I agree with Poot that I think the NWO still would have happened, but I don't think it would have been as successful. And that's just who am I? What do I know? That's just my wild speculation. I don't think it would have been as successful without those two guys, especially without Scott Hall. But then again, who knows? The DX might have had a completely different story arc. DX might have been something completely different, which might have, who knows? But I agree with Poot that the NWO probably in WCW still probably would have happened. Hogan might not have been a part of it, though, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Scott and Nash that convinced Hogan to completely change his gimmick, completely change his image, and be the bad guy. So without those two guys, maybe Hogan would have never been part of the NWO.
And as I understand it, it was a tough fucking sell. Like, he was dragging his feet the whole way. Didn't want, in typical Hogan fashion, didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it. Thought that he knew best, and it just, again, Scott and Kevin having a mind for the business were like, no, man, like, if we do it this way, it's going to fucking work.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
So
100%.
I mean, we've lost a lot of wrestlers. Guys like Piper, Vader, guys who had a huge impact on how wrestling was shaped. Guerrero, obviously, Benoit.
Hell, even Pillman.
But a guy like Razor, and he, I would dare say he was a keystone. That he was the guy. He was a bridge between, Duke the Dumpster Droese and Stone Cold Steve Austin. The gritty realism of Razor Ramon made the Attitude Era what it is, or what it was rather. So we could pontificate on and on about him and what he meant to the business, what he meant to WWF, what he meant to WCW, the NWO. But suffice it to say that he was an incredible talent, and will obviously be missed. Bad times don't last. Bad
guys do, man.
Yeah.
Like,
before we move on to something different, I want to share one last thing of my own, if I could. I can't remember the exact time, but it was when Mick Foley, the Mick Foley character, debuted. Not Mankind, Cactus Jack, Dude Love. When he actually came back as Mick Foley. When he first came out, such a loud Mordor tonight. When he first came out and his music hit, and you had the tire screeching, and then the crash. Before the crash happened and the tire screech came on the music, that was the same tire screech as Razor Ramon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever came out of my seat as fast as I did when I thought Razor Ramon came back.
Yep.
Because I heard that tire screech and my ass was up before the and Mick Foley's music started. And sorry, Mick, but I was so disappointed when Mick Foley came out because they really psyched me out. I thought it was Razor Ramon coming back, and I was going to be more excited than ever.
Speaking of disappointments, gentlemen, we have some business to attend to.
Yes.
We have a Stump the Chumps. We got to get back on our winning ways, because if Pat wins another one, we're never gonna hear the end of it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate Pat, and he did a wonderful job last week, and I'm glad he was there, like on the hating Jeff Hardy wagon with me.
Yeah.
But my goodness, like a smug the smug card maniac we can do without. So let's
card maniac.
Let's just put it to bed. Let's bury his ass right now and be done with it. So here we go. Let's knock it out of the park. Oh boy, going outside the box here. Bear with me. Who was involved in the match to crown the first TNA champion in 2007 after the NWA split, and also who won?
Oh God.
That is outside the box, Pat. All right, so Shamrock and Ron the Truth Killings were both NWA champions. I am very certain of that.
Wait, this was when?
2007. So this is basically after their split from NWA. So for the longest time on TNA, the NWA was like used as their world title until they, brought in their own world title and basically they split from NWA. It wasn't Joe. For fucking sure, it was not Samoa Joe.
You talking about you just trying to figure out who was the first?
The first TNA champion.
Okay.
Who was involved in the match and who won?
Let me think. AJ Styles, would he have been the first?
He comes to mind.
So loud.
I feel like this is a curveball, and maybe I'm overthinking. I've been known to do that, but I feel like this is a curveball. I feel like this is not going to be something that we expected. AJ. So I think AJ was NWA champion under the TNA banner. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was there.
This was in Impact, you said?
TNA. So this is even before it was called. It was called Impact. It was TNA.
Was this during the time that Angle was floating around?
He's up there too. He's
TNA.
Another name. Christian.
2007.
No, Christian was NWA. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%, but I think Christian may have been in NWA. So Styles possible, Angle's possible. 07. Maybe Jarrett. I think the Jarrett years came later though.
When was this
Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode may have been in that conversation. Robert Roode may have been in that conversation as well.
No,
what about,
it would have been before.
Well, okay, because wasn't the TNA championship the first championship? It was the combining of titles. Wasn't it like because you mentioned Christian Cage?
Yes.
At that point.
I think he was NWA champion though. I think he had the whatever it's called, the 15 pounds of gold or whatever they call it.
Yeah, but wasn't there a time period there where the NWA belt wasn't being defended? Because it was in TNA and everything, and because I at that time I feel like it was because Angle was gone from WWE at that point.
Yes.
Well, let's remember that you're right, Pooh. Because how long it was just within the last maybe 5 years tops that Moose or whoever brought back the NWA title again, and then they had the two belts going on for a little bit.
No, he brought back the TNA title.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. He brought back the TNA title. So I'm trying to think, when was this is going to be a
and this would have been like the big gold belt that basically Impact or TNA was trying to replicate like the WCW title. So it looked like the big gold belt, but with like the TNA logo in the middle of it.
When did CM Punk faff around in TNA?
Way before that. Way before that.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't it. So look,
years.
I think Poot is sniffing up the exact tree that we're going to want to mark here.
Okay.
I really feel like he is. I think he's right on the money with Kurt Angle.
Okay.
I think he's right on the money with Christian. I think at the time Christian, like Poot said, was the
NWA champion.
The NWA champion.
Makes sense.
Going into this match, and they were going to crown the
TNA champion.
The TNA
champion. So I think Poot is
TNA
right.
heavyweight champion.
I think Poot is right, where Christian was going into it as the champ, the NWA champ. I think he's right with Kurt Angle.
So at this point too, the X Division guys were all kind of self-contained. So I think that's where we can like keep out Kazarian, we can keep out Styles, we can keep out Joe.
No, man, I'm telling you, I know for a fact Styles was NWA heavyweight champion. Like I remember
he
young,
was
a young age, but I think he was back in the X Division at this point, or at least not essential to this specific, like to the beginning.
right.
Well, that's my point. Is that he
was not involved in
the
beginning. Poot's right. We can write him off for this one.
Any of those like kind of iconic names because they're leaning on like, you know, because Christian Cage, you know, when he went off and started forging his own way, that was a big deal. Like, you know, it wasn't like knockdown, drag out or anything, but it was kind of like, oh, wow, he's the NWA champion. He's really kind of making his mark and like showing his value beyond what he was in WWE. And that's no offense to what he was. But there was him. One thing
I'll say about Kurt Angle. So Christian, I'm not disputing. I think you guys may be right on that. But the one thing I'll say about Kurt Angle is I don't think, because here's the thing. I remember Angle debuting right after Samoa Joe first won the TNA title. Like, it was a long and fucking arduous process for Samoa Joe to finally win the damn title. And then Kurt Angle debuts and like takes it from him in a month. And I was super fucking pissed.
When did Sting show up?
That's it. That's it. No. That's it. You're right.
So you think it's Sting, Christian?
No, I wasn't.
No,
I wasn't
no.
making a big.
Okay.
No, I wasn't making a big declarative statement. I'm just trying to think at that point because Hogan wasn't around yet. Was he?
No.
And so
I don't think he was champion anyway.
No. This was before the Main Event Mafia.
Mm-hmm. Way before.
But Sting was there.
Okay.
And I think the throw here from Pat is, I think this is one of my favorite matches. I think it's a triple threat. I think it's Christian, Angle, and Sting. Christian went in as the NWA champion. And I'm willing to hedge a bet that Angle wins this match.
I mean, it would make sense.
And is the first ever TNA champion.
He was coming off of a really, really obviously no run that he had in WWE was bad, but like everyone knew who Kurt Angle was.
And it's quite possible that I'm remembering Joe winning the NWA title and Angle taking it from him. I you know, things are murky around the split. But if Ransom seems pretty like on the button here with Sting, Angle, and Christian, and I especially after last week, I will back up Ransom.
Yeah, Ransom, you're saying Sting's involved, but you think Angle wins?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say because I was as soon as you started getting hyped for Sting, I was thinking, okay, well that would make sense if Sting had won because wasn't he like the first person inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yeah.
Him or one of the others that we've mentioned, but I think he was 100% one of the first. Yeah,
but
so I will definitely lock that in. Yep, I will lock that in.
So we're saying Sting, Angle, and Christian Cage. Angle winning the TNA title, becoming the first TNA
heavyweight champion. Correct.
Heavyweight champion.
Poot started sniffing up this tree first. So is that true? Is that where you were going, Poot? Like, does that make sense to you? Because I don't want to be way off on this.
I think it makes sense because at that time they didn't have the luxury to throw no names around. You know what I mean? Not trying to shit on anyone in TNA, but I'm saying at that point, why wouldn't you have well-known heavy hitters to be crowned your first champion, to get eyes on the product? That's why. And plus Sting's run in there, whether you like Joker Sting or whatever, wherever Sting goes, he does good shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree.
And I think Poot is right whenever he says that they want that Angle coming off a big thing with WWE, debuting in TNA. And it makes sense that he's the one that wins the TNA title first. And I think Beef is right. I think Samoa Joe probably had it in there. AJ Styles probably had it in there. Sting probably did as well. But I think I would back Poot here and say that Angle's the first.
Okay. I'm going with it.
I'm good with it.
All right, let's find out. Great discussion last time, boys. Don't worry, Poot. Jeff Hardy still sucks, but I love you.
Oh.
The answer is the 3 men involved were Sting, Kurt Angle, and Christian, with Angle defeating the 2 to become the first TNA Heavyweight Champion. Man, I'll tell you what.
Suck it easy, fuckhead.
Ransom's a fucking bloodhound.
No, this one wasn't me. This one was Poot.
Right, but I'm saying, like, we get you on the trail. Like, you, me, Poot, Tom, whoever, we start throwing out names and we get you on the trail and you're like, I got it. It's right here. But yeah, total fucking, yeah, I give Poot big props too, because I thought this was after their time. So
total
good
nonstop answers, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Got him. Speaking of got him, guess what, Pat?
Oh boy.
6 to midnight.
Once again, you have given us your best, and once again, we have knocked it out of the park. Sir, I thank you for your question, but I have to let you know that you lose, and you get nothing.
All right, so we start over. This is 1.
One
more.
more.
We gotta get to 10 to be champs.
One more for the good guys.
That's right. 1 more for the fucking good guys. Poot! Take us home.
All right, I'm going to take you guys home. We're going to get a tortilla right now. We're not, or a quesadilla. We're not getting the full burrito. Thank you very much, Casual Gaming Dad and Casual Gaming Dad over on Facebook, Twitch, and all the other places. Thank you, Sean Tischler, for your work with independent wrestling in the central Pennsylvania and western Pennsylvania area. And we want to thank Mr. Ransom the Madman and his channel, Fergoff Ransom. Want to thank them as well. Make sure you listen to the other episodes. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we should call this one Say Goodbye to the Bad Guy.